Hello, my name is Dante Renee, and welcome to the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more. Tonight's film is Jess Franco's Barbed Wire Dolls. This is the cover here. I can't show too much of the cover, but Lena Romay and Martin de Stadil are on the cover here with some chains on them. Here's the back, briefly. There's the German title for the movie right there. Barbed Wire Dolls with an 18 certificate on the edge. This is part of the Jess Franco Golden Goya collection, a German region-free Blu-ray collection. I've been doing a ton of reviews on this Blu-ray collection. This Jess Franco Golden Goya Blu-ray German region-free collection are all films Jess Franco did under the producer of Erwin C. Dietrich. This is Barbed Wire Dolls, and this is from 1976, as it states in the back of the Blu-ray. Obviously, Franco was doing more than one film per year, if you know Franco at all. And this particular film is one of his women in prison films. And if you know his women in prison films, I've reviewed Women in Cell Block 9 already on this YouTube page, but he has lots. He has an Ilsa film. He has 99 Women. Jess Franco's women in prison films tend to be, if you like that genre, add in Jess Franco and you're going to get it much more extreme, and you're going to get possibly what a women in prison film should really be. And you're going to get the madness of Mr. Franco in the madness of the genre of a women in prison film. I don't believe Jess Franco ever kind of succumbs to a genre, whether it be horror, whether it be even erotica or pornography or a slasher film or a monster film or, you know, a supernatural film. I don't think he ever succumbs to the genre. I think what he does is he takes the genre and then he owns it and masters it in his free way that he always kind of does. This particular film is something very, if you want the more extreme women in prison film, this is it right here for you, along with Women in Cell Block 9 and of that ilk. Let's go first with the locations of this film. I think it's very important. This film is very claustrophobic. It is filmed primarily, it looks like, on an island in this prison, which really looks like some kind of Mayan stone castle that's been abandoned or something, and it's very claustrophobic because you're really only there and you get these glimpses of the shoreline and glimpses of the palm trees and the jungle surrounding it, but you just keep looking up at the castle as if you're looking up in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre scene under the bench at the girl's butt as she's walking towards the family house, if you know that iconic scene. He really makes this place look large, and it's very claustrophobic, and you're inside of the rooms of this place that are very bare, stone walls, very typical of a women in prison type film, and just bed frames and things are very bare, a cross on the wall, just very, very, you know, kind of, and then you go with the elegance of kind of the governor's home. It's very wealthy, affluent, antique-y type of home, the kind of home that represents the one room of your grandmother's house that you weren't allowed to sit in. That's what this whole place looked like in the governor's house. So you have the governor's house and you have the prison walls, and this castle, stone castle-like prison that really, the shape of it is kind of unnerving. The corners and the jagged edges that come out, and when the women are peering their heads out of the stone windows that have no window in them, it's openings. Jess Franco's filming style in this movie is madness. It's at the peak. If you're looking for Jess Franco madness in his filming, this would be one of those films. It's almost dizzying, the zooming he is doing in this film. The forward zooming and the reverse zooming and the zooming out of focus and the zooming into focus. Focus in the front of the frame and then taking the focus out in the background. And I mean, it is dizzying. It is dizzying how he is filming entire scenes of dialogue, but moving the camera from character to character to character to another location and then to a mirror filming both of those characters. There's lots of mirror work in here as well, folks. In a typical Jess Franco stylistic fashion, you have sections of the movie where you're watching it and you have no idea that you're actually watching it through a mirror. Yes, indeed. And you have some elements where it's like almost mirror to mirror, so you're doubling somebody's image around the main character in the center of the frame. I mean, wow. Where is Franco when he's filming these amazing mirror sequences? You can never see him, and he gets no credit for this. For the low budgets of these films, he's getting mirror shots and reflection shots that are priceless. So you're really getting a lot of wild zooming in this film, and zooming of the ocean, and zooming of the sailboats, and the sailboats are even a piece of the storyline in this film. It's not just a Franco obsession, though, the sailing on the waters. And there's even some dialogue in the film about the sailboats on the waters. It's always something you see in a Franco film. And you see him zooming in on a cross. You see him zooming in on a coffee cup with Mickey Mouse on it. What? Right after like a fairly serious line of dialogue. It's like stuff like that. It's like, what is happening here? I don't think he got rights from Disney for that. You know what I'm saying? And it's just very bizarre why it went there at the close of that scene. And this is also a film that is very gynecological in nature. He is zooming into women's vaginas. He's zooming into their vaginas from their butt scope, from behind. It is almost unnerving, in particular in one sequence in the last 10 minutes of the film. It sucker punches you out of serenity. Yes, you shall see. So very gynecological shots in this particular film, and that leads us to the sexuality of the film. This film has explicit sexuality in terms of, kind of real masturbation, and also invasive tests of virginity up close and personal with Franco's zooming lens, and lots of gyrations. We even have not just fingers going into vaginas. We even have a lit cigarette with ashes on the pubic hair going into the vagina. I mean, this is some crazy, crazy stuff. As Eric Falk says on an interview feature on this Blu-ray disc, this is madness. Yes. Oh, wow. So there is explicit sexuality here. I mean, there's not intercourse or anything, but we do have masturbation, and we do have invasiveness with fingers. So it's really all finger oriented. And we've implied, sex, but really just fingers going on in here, folks, and objects as well. When we go into the acting is awesome. Okay, we have a lot of Jess Franco regulars in this film. Excuse me, sorry. You're going to see a lot of Jess Franco regulars in this film, from Vampiros Lesbos. If you've seen Vampiros Lesbos, you're going to recognize people. And if you've seen a lot of the Erwin C. Dietrich stuff, you're going to recognize people. In particular, Martine de Stadil, who's the blonde woman. So, you really have some stuff. You even have some new faces in here as well. These actors act as though they are doing an Oscar-nominated, high-budget Hollywood film. They're acting with intensity. They're giving it their all. You can see that they're giving it their all, and that's what makes it all the more bewildering and amazing. This particular film really just takes place at a women's prison, and there is some mystery and corruption going on in the leadership, as usual. But there are some questions as to who is good and who is bad, and who says, who is actually who they are also. And there is also some mystery as to some of the women at the prison, as you discover some of their history, and you discover some of their story and how it relates to the leadership of the prison. And I will say that there are some insane twists and turns to this film in the last 15 minutes of this movie, and you are going to see some pretty wild things happen. And this, let's just say, I don't want to give away too much, but there's some action going on at the end, and some very jungle locations at the end, and typical to a Franco film, especially a Franco women in prison film, there's a definitely nihilistic story view going on here. I will also say the dialogue in this film is very poetic. It's very, very poetic. There's lines, because I was doing the subtitles, there are lines that are just like poetry, like deep philosophical, predominantly from a crazy character in the film who's really, really great. She's been in lots of other Erwin C. Dietrich era films. This redheaded woman, I can't think of her name right now, but she's just great. And I believe she was in Downtown, actually, playing Franco's like main squeeze, who he cheats on. But you know, she is fantastic as this weird woman or crazy woman. And I have to tell you here too, folks, there's great sound design in here, and there's music by Daniel White again, collaborating also with another gentleman in here, Walter Baumgartner, who I don't believe that is. I don't know if that's a pseudonym or what. But the music in here does not seem like a typical Franco movie music. We do have sections where like somebody's being sexually manipulated or raped, and it starts to get like kind of that exotic, erotic, jazzy type music. But the remainder of the film is very mysterious and dark and looming and doomy. And there's even these sections that are mystical, and they put you in a trance and that are intriguing. And I have to tell you, folks, there's some great sound design in the echoes of the halls, and there's even in the last like 30 minutes of the film started to remind me of Suspiria, where the women are whispering in the hallways of the women's prison, and they're devising a scheme, and there's these whispers and an element that I've never heard of in a women's prison film before, when it reminded me of Suspiria, or reminded me of Phenomena by Dario Argento. Really, really interesting stuff. Or The Woods by Lucky McGee. I gotta tell you, there's a section of this film, also stylistically, that is so freaking crazy, where they're acting out slow-mo. That's not in slow-mo, but they're acting out slow-mo, and Jess Franco is actually playing a character in this particular scene. They're acting out slow-mo. Do you understand what I'm saying here? This is freaking crazy. You gotta see it to believe it. It's a dream sequence, a dream within a dream, kind of. And this is where that mystical, amazing music is playing that kind of puts you in a trance. It's wild. Oh, and there's also an incest subplot in this film as well, which is rather typical in a lot of Jess Franco films, but in a very unique fashion. It has connections. And also, of course, get ready, folks, because we do have some sexual violence in this film and some torture for a women in prison film, of course, which really falls into that sadomasochistic vibe of Franco's films and the Marquis de Sade. But really, Franco knows how to do torture very well in these women in prison films. I mean, you almost got to bow down to him on how he's doing this, and the women do bow down, but not to Franco. And I got to tell you, guys, that this is just a really, really wild movie, and it's an intense movie, and there's a lot of dialogue. It's a dialogue-driven film. I mean, yes, there's torture, yes, there's sex, yes, there's rape, there's some action, but it's a dialogue-driven film. When it's not loud, it's a quiet film. And the whispers in the hallways in that last 30 minutes will really bring you there. This is Barbed Wire Dolls, folks. Barbed Wire Dolls. And you can get this from Ascot Elite. You can get this from DiabolicDVD.com. All these Jess Franco Golden Goy collections you can get from them. That's where I got them. They're not cheap, but hey, save up your money and get a piece of cinema that is unlike anything else that's out there. Folks, thank you so much for watching the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page. Please feel free to check out my own personal films. I've made over 190 in 10 years at youtube.com/poopydiarrhea. And thank you so much for watching. I have tons more Jess Franco on this YouTube page and tons more other films that I believe need to be talked about more. And there's much more Jess Franco to come. Thank you and good night.